What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for tuning in to another episode of the On the Ball podcast. Got myself, got Brett. Uh, probably, but might be a little bit of a shorter show, but we're still got a lot to get into, and we'll obviously have some good conversations. But before we even get into all that, Brett, Garda 3, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Draft lottery was yesterday. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that all plays out.
That has become like case number one conspiracy theory today, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But we got the NBA playoffs going on, which we'll talk about as well, including my team making news for all the wrong reasons. But let's actually start there with the draft lottery. As we saw last night, the Dallas Mavericks, the team with the probably wildest, well, one of the wildest odds out there, gets the number one pick, which means within the same year, Nico traded Luka away in a trade that was laughable. But then, turn around at the end of the season, they learn they're the number one pick, which means they get Cooper Flag. And I love how today it's like, Mavs say they're not going to trade the number one pick. They're going to take Cooper Flag. You're like, duh. We kind of knew that. So looking at how it played out, because actually the worst teams, none of them got top four. The worst odds went to the fifth pick. So your top four, Dallas, San Antonio, Philly, and who's four? Was it the Pelicans?
No, it was the Hornets.
Hornets, yes. I don't know. I thought it was Pelicans. So looking at what's going on, Jory, what happened? What were your thoughts when you saw Rolando Blackman celebrating Dallas getting the number one pick?
I think that Nico Harrison must have sold his soul or something in order for that to happen, because it's so odd. It's good for the Dallas Mavericks. Let's start there. It's going to be fantastic for Dallas. I love that for the people of Dallas, because they needed hope after, that bumbling moron of an owner that they have, authorized the Luka trade.
Yeah.
But, at the same time, it's just one of those things that, I'm happy for the fans. I'm happy for the fan base. I'm happy for myself. I do love that, Dallas does have another franchise player, but also at the same time, it just feels like you just bailed the frick out of Nico. And the problem is, Nico's I feel like he's now going to walk around like he's just the greatest thing to ever grace Earth. See, guys, this was the plan. We needed Josh Giddey to hit a game-winning shot, on the last day of the season. I planned for us to win this coin flip. I'm happy for the fans. I'm also not thrilled that they won, because now this just feels like they get bailed out of their own stupidity.
Yeah, I agree. And we've seen certain drafts where people look back on and say some shenanigans happened. Was it 85? The Knicks get Patrick Ewing. People thought something was a little fishy about that one.
There's an envelope.
Exactly. Was it Spurs with Tim Duncan? There's a few of them that people look at and go, I don't know about that one. And look, for this one, sure, maybe it is a little underhanded what's going on. Like Jory said, why is Nico being awarded for stupidity? Maybe the league's throwing him a bone, whatever. But I do think something that we might have to start looking at is the league secretly just trying to tell these teams that don't want to be competitive that there's no guarantee in doing that? Because I believe it's been 5-6 years now since the team with the worst odds has gotten the number one pick. So now that they're this tanking that obviously Silver and the league hate, maybe that's more the narrative here than necessarily Dallas and Nico.
I'm probably one of the few. I don't mind the lottery. I think
I don't either. By the way,
the only amendment you can make that I think I'd be fine with, which I also really don't care about, is like maybe you could say, hey, playing teams don't get
Yeah.
chance at the number one pick, but I'm also just fine with it because their odds of getting it are just so astronomically little. And to people that think the draft lottery is rigged, why in the world would all 30 franchises, or sorry, 14 that are in the lottery, all agree to rig to send Cooper Flag to Dallas? Like, getting Cooper Flag is just, even if you're not competitive right now, getting him alone is just sold out arenas and massive jersey sales for your team. There's financial implications to getting Cooper Flag that would have made these owners money. And that's what they care about. So why in the world would they all conspire and go, yeah, make sure this dude gets to Dallas. We need to make Nico look good. Like,
Yeah.
like I understand why it looks like there's a conspiracy, but also it just doesn't make any sense. Like, these owners are not working together to cost themselves money and to line Patrick Dermott and Nico Harrison's pockets. Like, let's be real here.
Right. Yeah. Like, if they wanted to like conspire, like they would have found a way to get him to like, the cities that all the media people love, LA, Miami, New York, although none of them would have made sense in this one. But I think the crazy part of it is, if Cooper Flag ended up going to Washington, what would be the first thing that we would say the minute he gets drafted? Washington will never do right by him. So why is it that some people are mad that the worst teams aren't getting these guys, but then turning around saying that these teams that are bad don't know how to put teams together anyway, and you don't want big talent in these cities? Like, people have to kind of pick one side of the street here. And as Jory put, Ainge hoarding picks for what? Ainge, look, this is Ainge's thing. I don't know what his master plan is in Utah, but yeah, that's why I'm just like, yeah, because Jory put also Utah, Charlotte, and Washington. If Cooper Flag went to any one of those cities, would anybody be happy?
Like, bad teams are bad teams for a reason, right?
Yeah.
Teams like Charlotte, they're not bad because they miss out on these lottery picks. They just don't nail, like, really any picks. And when they do nail picks, they just don't have a plan in place for them, right? In fact, let's look at Charlotte. They nailed it on, Ball.
Mm-hmm.
Like, LaMelo's a great talent. You have Brandon Miller.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I, dislike Miles Bridges, he's still a talent you can build around. Mm-hmm. You have talent, and what do? They cannot figure out a suitable system to build around these guys. And that's kind of like this whole frustrating part to me. They're like, well, these teams are bad because they never get the best pick. Like, no, they don't know how to build anything sustainable. I think there are like 15 to 20 coaches in the league on actual teams. Like, who could take a three of, Ball, Miller, and Bridges and build at least a competent team. You can probably turn that trio into at least a play-in team. But the Hornets, they just can never seem to figure it out. They try getting guys like, Steve Clifford, which was, always a terrible hire. So I think, it'd be nice to get the top picks, but I think if we're looking at these teams, we can't keep blaming like them not getting picks, because they have opportunity to add blue chip talent. If you're picking in the top 5, top 6 year after year after year, you have the opportunity to add a blue chip prospect, but you just miss. Like, we got to stop blaming the picks and actually start blaming and holding these front offices and GMs accountable for why these teams are so bad.
I completely agree with that. Because if you're going to tell me that the only way to get good is to get the number one pick, then that means college level talent ain't it. That means, these front offices who are paying people to like scout talent, they aren't getting their job done. Like, something's got to give. And I've heard Jay Billis say that this is a deep draft. Obviously, everybody thinks Cooper Flag's the prize, but you should be able to build your team out, even if you have like a top 10 pick, unless it's a horrible draft, because there are some drafts that are just horrible. But if that's the case, then it wouldn't have mattered if you got the number one pick. It's just a bad draft. I think if you're looking at it, if that was the case, then how come the Warriors are successful? The Celtics and all these teams that are constantly competing, they're not getting number one picks. Now, when they had their opportunity to get a top draft pick, they nailed it. Then the real work begins, build around those players, like you said. So if Charlotte or Washington had gotten Cooper Flag, I guarantee we'd be here 5 years from now going, man, those teams really wasted Cooper Flag. And then media people would be like, got to get Cooper Flag out of Charlotte and Washington. He'll never win there. So we can't throw a pity party because they didn't get Cooper Flag, knowing full well they wouldn't know what to do with Cooper Flag. So that is what it is. Dallas is going to get him. Dallas will, I guess, pair him with AD. Kyrie got hurt, so he probably won't be around next year. You got Klay Thompson.
I'm just imagining Cooper Flag just standing on the wing, like praying for the ball. It's like Jordan Poole's launching 30-foot moon balls.
Right. Like, who would want that for Cooper Flag or any of these top prospects?
Yeah. And like I said, I do love it when small market teams get these superstars. I love it. I love it when the superstar lands in a small market, but also at the same time, we can't keep using the excuse that's why they're bad, because they're not getting these, superstars. Because we've seen teams, like look at Indy. Have they gotten the number one pick recently? No.
Mm-hmm.
But they have Paul George, competitive. They lose their star, still competitive. Then they pivot to Tyrese Halliburton. They're just smart with their assets. And now they're likely headed to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, or even just one. So, yeah, I think some of these teams just really, I think they just got to look at their scouting department and their talent evaluation. Right,
exactly. Oh, all right. So, we now know that San Antonio has the number 2 pick, and like I said, Philly's got to be counting their luck on this one, because we knew that if they weren't in the top 6, I believe that pick went to OKC, which OKC doesn't need more picks, but they'd have loved it. So Sixers will have the 3rd pick. I think it's going to be interesting to see, the Sixers this offseason, even San Antonio, because I already know. I guess we'll transition to the next one before getting to the playoffs. San Antonio, Giannis, we're going to be hearing about that every day this offseason, because it's been, they've reported Giannis has supposedly said he's willing and he's open to other options. You as a Bucks fan, what do you take from that report? And I guess to you, does that mean Giannis is gone?
No.
Okay.
Giannis, for me, I'll believe Giannis is gone when he comes out and says, hey, thanks for everything, but I'm looking for greener pastures. Like, when he does that, I'll believe he's gone.
Okay.
Because I've heard he does this every offseason. People just miss it. It's every offseason. He's just putting pressure on the front office to continue to build around him. Maybe this is the year he leaves. If it is, look, at the end of the day, I won't hate the guy for it. It's his career, and I'll love him regardless. But, like, last year, didn't this happen last year, Kyle? Remember? Remember what happened 2 weeks before? Guess what? It's the same thing the year before that. He does this every offseason. He just wants the Bucks to show commitment that they're willing to build around him to try to contend for titles. So I don't think Giannis is going anywhere until he comes out and says, hey, it's not working, it's over. Like, when he comes out and says it, I'll believe it. But until then, I'm taking all these reports with a grain of salt. Plus, they can't even figure out what they want. Yesterday, within like the span of 2 hours, Giannis wants to go play in a place with no income tax. 2 hours later, so Giannis was the only non-Warrior that was invited to Steph Curry's birthday party. Like, okay, Bo Callahan, like, we just went from no income tax to now he wants to play in California. Like, at this point, I won't believe anything unless I hear it from Giannis or the Milwaukee Bucks themselves.
Okay. I think that's fair. And look, if that is his plan to put pressure on the front office, then this is probably the offseason where that's going to be tested the most with kind of the limitations that they have, but they could possibly get some help with some guys that are free agents if they just kind of denounce them and let them go. So if let's just say you were working the front office, he tells you that he's open to other options. Who are the teams that you would call to try to work something?
If I were to trade him, that's easy. OKC or San Antonio.
Okay.
San Antonio, obviously, have the number 2 pick and a whole lot of other assets. So I can get a young potential future star in, Dylan Harper. I can get maybe a couple more young pieces like, Vassell. And obviously they'd probably have to throw in like Harrison Barnes and a couple of vets to match salaries and a boatload of picks because they have them. If I'm OKC, they can match that with, I think Jalen Williams would end up heading out. And then I'm guessing they'd have to either throw in Dort or like iHeart to continue to match salaries, but we know the amount of picks they have.
Right.
Because it doesn't make sense to completely bottom out if you're Milwaukee because the Pelicans still have our pick. So I'm first calling OKC and seeing if we can get something done where we get like J-Dub and iHeart back. And if that doesn't work, then I'll call San Antonio because they can, get us. They can get us that number 2 pick. They can get us a second lottery pick, which is something that a lot of teams can't offer. They can give us young players and future picks. So I think those got to be the top 2 teams.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those two would make the most sense. I'll just talk about like the Knicks or the Heat or like some of these teams. It's like, what would the Bucks want from any of those teams that would, justify getting rid of a Giannis? I know that they want to, put him in the certain cities that they love, but like Milwaukee's got to do what's right for Milwaukee. And I do hope he stays because I like the fact that him being in Milwaukee is not like one of the sexy cities of the NBA. Same way I respected Reggie Miller staying with the Pacers all of his career. Like I hope Giannis is one of those type of guys.
Do we bring Gary Trent back? I think we try that. I think we do. I think if we play our cards right, I think we can offer him like a mid-level exception. I think Gary Trent, though, is going to be the priority of the offseason for us. He was absolutely fantastic for us. And I think we will prioritize bringing him back. Obviously, there are going to be other teams that can outbid us. So that's why I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 75% sure that we'll end up bringing him back. Or say, he'll get a nice raise either way. But I hope it's through us. But I think we bring him back.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, that would be a good move for them because they do have some decisions to make, and even with the guys that they do let go in free agency, they're gonna have to bring in some talent in there to hopefully get a better result than this current season where they lost in the first round. Now, transitioning to the playoffs, let's start with Minnesota. Golden State. Minnesota last night takes the commanding 3-1 series lead over the Warriors. The Warriors have already come out and said Curry is not going to play in Game 5. So knowing that, seeing how the series has kind of gone, especially with Curry out, does that series end Game 5?
That's completely up to the Timberwolves. We've seen times where they'll just in lack of a better term, play with their food. If they come out with intensity, with conviction, hey, we're going to end this series, and they play like they did in the second half of Game 4, they're ending the series in 5. But I think they do. Because I think they realize that, listen, the Thunder and, Nuggets, they got a guaranteed 2 games to go. Like, we close this out in 5. We get some much-needed rest ahead of a potential 7-game series with them. So I think the Wolves will come out motivated, and they'll come out swinging, and the Warriors do not have the firepower to match it.
Okay. I mean, look, I feel like because of how the Warriors are right now with no Curry, I think Ant's going to be like, let's end it in 5, and I think he's going to go out there and play really well.
I mean,
Look,
if not, that
Butler
carried
just
by
Butler in his performance in Game 4 would give me no hope that he does anything different Game 5. And without Curry, they brought Butler over. Butler was supposed to be the guy to tie it all together, which means with Curry out, Butler's got to take the mantle because you can't expect Draymond Green to all of a sudden turns his own 30-point scorer. That's not in his DNA. So unless you get like Kuminga to do it or something like that, Butler needs to be the guy. If they're going to call you playoff Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy Butler needs to step up in Game 5. Plain and simple. Nobody else is going to do it but him. I just don't know if he wants to.
Yeah, no, he clearly just isn't going to do that. And, like, it's funny because he did it for one game and then proceeded to shoot 9 shots the next. Like, he's the guy who said in the interview, well, I could score 40 if I wanted to. Like, you better start wanting it, dude, because they're not winning unless you score 40. Like,
yep.
I get wanting to be passive. Like, if you have good teammates, if you're passing it to Steph, being more passive makes sense. But when you're passing it to Pods, whose shooting percentage is so low, it, looks like Shannon Sharp's ideal dating age. Like, that is not going to work out for you. Like, I need a more aggressive and more assertive Jimmy Butler if they do want to extend this series.
So Andre asked, finals predictions going with Thunder Knicks. That's an interesting one.
Give me Thunder Pacers.
See, something's telling me Pacers probably get by the Cavs. We'll talk about that series here in a little bit, but the Pacers get by the Cavs. We'll say the Knicks get past the Celtics. I kind of got this weird feeling it might be the Pacers series to go to the finals. The West, I mean, I still have some questions whether or not the Thunder get past the Nuggets, but if they do, and they face like the T-Wolves.
I think if the Thunder beat the Nuggets, then it feels like they're pretty much in, because it feels like the Achilles heel of the Thunder is like close games, because when it gets close, they get jittery. We've seen it multiple times just in this series. Like, that's the problem when you blow everybody out. When the series gets close, when games get close, sometimes it looks like you really don't know what to do. But if they survive a grueling 7-game series, winning multiple close games against the Nuggets, I have all the faith in the world that they take care of the Timberwolves. Even though I would love a Timberwolves finals appearance. Can you imagine the Wolves-Knicks if that was the finals?
Yeah. That would be kind of crazy. I would love to know if somebody like put money on that before the season, like how much is going to get paid for that one. I mean, I think the Thunder Pacers matchup would probably make the most sense, but I also think this could be one of those weird year in sports where we might get Wolves Pacers in the finals. People in the NBA office might lose their mind. Fans will probably say, who wants to watch that? But I guess I wouldn't hate it necessarily. Ant would be on the big stage. The league would love that. And we'll see what that does to him.
Hey, and I will say, the people who go, well, who wants to watch that? Need I remind you what the best series of this, decade has been so far? Has been a series where people said very similar things. I'm talking about Bucks versus Suns in 2021. People are like, oh, who wants to watch that? Ratings rate. Like, dude, shut up and just enjoy basketball. And that was an entertaining 6-game series with multiple iconic moments. And I would be definitely love it if it was like Minnesota and Indiana. Give me 2 teams that really just, have never won it before, battling it out in the end.
Yeah. Like I said, if my team's not going to be in it, give me the craziest matchup you can in the finals, and I would be here for it. But Andre did bring up the Knicks, so we'll talk about the other game from last night. Celtics-Knicks. probably the best game of the series. One that, first two, Celtics get the big lead, Knicks come back. Third game, Celtics get the big lead, keep it. Game 4 was a back and forth. Like, we got Brunson, Tatum going shot for shot basically all night. Tatum unfortunately goes down, hurts his Achilles. It was almost like before we even heard what the actual injury was, he had surgery done, which was a smart thing to do. But looking at that series now, what % chance would you give the Celtics without Tatum to even force a game 7?
Like 5.
I'm kind of the same spot.
Like
5% chance.
You could just see, like, after Tatum goes down, it just kind of sucked the wind out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they could force a game 6. They could come out, rally behind the injury and force a game 6. But I don't see this going to 7. I think the Knicks will take care of this series before it gets that far.
Mm-hmm. Now, if it goes to 6, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the Knicks to end it in 6.
If it goes to 7, then anything's on the table.
Yeah. And that's the last thing the Knicks in this series. But yeah, so, looking at the Knicks, I got to say, Bridges has kind of come on the last couple of games, which has been good for them. Anunoby played well last night. I think the game before he was kind of shut down. Brunson obviously had a really great game. So it was like the first game where they got like 4 guys really contributing. And that's obviously going to be their formula if they're going to not only close out the Celtics, but make it to the finals. Because let's say they face the Pacers next round. Pacers are a team that's going to put a lot of pressure on them with pace and all that and the scoring. Because the Knicks have kind of shown in this series against the Celtics, like, they're not necessarily the best scoring. They're not the best offense. What they're really good at is they'll play defense and they will crash boards all night. So that they have that going with them. I guess looking at the Knicks, what are their chances? I guess as Andre put them in the finals for his prediction. What kind of shot do you give them of making the finals?
At this point, like, probably I feel like it feels like a foregone conclusion that they, beat the Tatumless Celtics. So at this point, like, am I wrong to say 50? Like 50-50 with the winner of whoever comes out the other series? Like, this is the beauty of these, like genuinely the beautiful part about the ending to this playoff so far is genuinely any team can make the finals. Like, none of these teams have looked invincible that you're just like, they're just going to steamroll everybody. Like, everybody is flawed in their own way, and I think that makes us great because now, like, Pacers Knicks, it's completely unpredictable on who wins. Or, even, Pacers, let's say Cavs come back, or, Knicks Cavs, like, you don't know who's going to win. Like, and that's the beauty of it. So I give them a solid 50% chance at this point.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it would be really weird if we just got Cavs Celtics out of all this. Both of them go down 3-1 and then manage to come back. Like, the way this playoffs has gone, I'm not throwing that out the window yet. Like, the crazier things have happened this postseason, but yeah, I would obviously have to lean towards Pacers Knicks facing off in the next round. So now looking at Cavs Pacers, Mitchell is playing tonight despite being hobbled a little bit. I kind of want to ask, like, bigger disappointment for you, Cavs or Celtics, seeing how the Pacers have looked like the better team against Cleveland when all season we've been looking at Cleveland as the best team in the East and looking at Cavs, Celtics being the Eastern Conference Finals, but now it looks like both teams won't make it. So which one's been the more disappointing showing so far?
I would say Celtics. The thing with the Cavs is obviously, they came into the series with Garland hurt, and literally right after game 1, they lose Hunter and Mobley.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Celtics were a different story because, yeah, Porzingis, is dealing with an illness. Like, he's dealing with some health issues. But outside of that, this was like a healthy Celtics team that has handled the Knicks all year. And it's more so the way they lost that disappointed me, right? Like, it's not like they just came out and lost a close game. This is the Celtics team that is going up 20 and then proceeding to blow these leads. Like, I think this one's actually a pretty easy answer. And I think the Celtics have been a bigger disappointing team, bigger disappointment. And, everybody's going to want to go, well, look at Tatum. I think you got to look at Mr., $250, $300 million man and Jaylen Brown. I think he's performed well below expectations so far in this playoffs and just in general all season. So I think it's the Celtics. And I think, if Jaylen Brown's really got to crank it up a notch if they want any chance at surviving, because he's been a massive disappointment so far.
Yeah. I mean, he dealt with the foul issues last night, which obviously looking at the Tatum injury was probably the worst night to have it. But yeah, he's always going to be looked at to step up in a game 5 without Tatum, obviously. I mean, look, it's for me, teams repeating in the NBA don't happen. So it might have been against the odds that the Celtics would repeat as a champion. But I definitely see what you're talking about of them being the disappointment. I also look at it as between the Magic and the Knicks, they've probably faced the two most physical teams in the playoffs, which does not excuse how they're playing in any way. I'm just throwing that out there. I think with the Cavs, it's like the Cavs were kind of coasting all year, and I think people were kind of waiting for them to maybe take over the East from Boston. That's kind of been hanging around for a lot of seasons. They may not be the most liked by a lot of the NBA fandom. And I think like Donovan Mitchell, I think Donovan Mitchell's kind of a guy that, people are rooting for to kind of burst through and make a finals because he is seen as like a star in this league, really good scorer, been on Utah teams that were pretty good, fell short. And I think when you looked at Cleveland, it was like maybe this is the perfect team they put around him to finally get him there. And like you said, they did deal with the Garland and Hunter stuff in this series as well. I mean, it's just because of the Pacers not being that well liked either, that people are kind of surprised that Cleveland's not beating them. I mean, I don't know. I might go Cleveland, but the injuries do kind of make their case a little bit more believable than, say, the Celtics. And look, it would have been crazy to think the Celtics were going to like beat the Knicks in 5 and beat them in a season series like 8-1. That seems hard to do against a team that's was the third seed, so they had their own good season. But I don't know, they're both disappointing in various ways.
Like I said, I probably could have won Cavs. It's just a process for me. It's like it's not the Celtics are down in the series. It's the Celtics continuously go up 15, 20 points and then proceed to lose the game. Like if they were just losing these games in close games, like I get it. But this is a Celtics veteran-laden team that when it comes down to execute and close out teams, that's what I expect them to do. This is a championship caliber team, and they just haven't shown it this series. They seem scared anytime it gets to clutch time.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, look, games 1 and 2 were I didn't know what was going on. So I definitely get that. So yeah, like I alluded to, Tatum hurts his Achilles. Learned it's a torn Achilles. I believe I saw some doctors say that the timeline is 6 to 9 months, which means look at 9 months. You're looking at next March, I believe, or April. Obviously, with an Achilles injury, you're not going to do a lot of running or conditioning in that way. So even when he's cleared, let's say April, he's got to like ramp up conditioning. So we can basically put the nail in next year for him. He is 27, so he's still young enough that he can recover from it. Do you think the Tatum injury maybe changes the Celtics' plans in the offseason? knowing that he will miss next season.
I actually think it all kinda. I think that's because I think they were trending this direction anyway, right? Like,
Mhm.
I think the Celtics are going to be looking to get under the second apron anyway because of
Yeah.
how much it limits roster flexibility. And I think the Tatum injury just kind of puts the nail in that, right? Like, I think that's just now the plan. Like, to me, the plan went from okay, I think they're going to try to shed salary to listen. We know because I think without Tatum, like this is still a playoff team. I think this team is still making the playoffs, or at least a play in. But I think what Tatum does for them is he pushes them to being a contending team. If you're not a true title contender, there's no point in paying second apron money, right?
Yeah.
So that I think it will to me it finalizes the plans. Like to me for sure now. I think maybe Drew gets shipped out, and I think they're gonna have a ultimatum: get under the second apron.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think that was going to be the plan anyway. I feel like that's kind of the purpose of the second apron. If you're Adam Silver, it's like, yeah, we want teams to spend money, but we don't want teams to spend money, consistently spend money, and kind of buy their way to contention. So now, if you're in the second apron, you get like 1, maybe 2 years to kind of live there before you have to get under the apron because, like you said, it limits what you can do once you get up there. And especially in that second year, like you're basically limited to like buyout market people at the trade deadline, if you're lucky. And I don't know any team out here that's gonna, become contenders and title winners off of a buyout addition. So I agree with you. I think Holiday will be the one to go. I think, depending on this Porzingis illness, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him. And, I know a lot of people have been kind of messing with him. Well, not messing with him, but like talking ill about him online because of how he's played. But it's just like the man talked about the illness, like zapping his energy. And you can see it. He's front rimming a lot of his shots. His movement, he just doesn't look right. And that's had a big effect on this series because this is like the series that they would have wanted him going up against Cat. Now they were forced like putting Tatum on Cat, which Tatum's done well against them, but that's not what you would have wanted defensively. And it is what it is. The summer's going to be interesting. I do think there's going to be a lot of teams that's going to kind of dictate how the summer goes in the NBA. And I think if you are an NBA fan, this offseason is going to be wildly entertaining.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope Kristaps recovers from whatever illness is bothering him. I hope he recovers well. And if you're making fun of Kristaps for dealing with an illness, go word I shouldn't say on air. Go F yourself, because that's just stupid to me. Like,
Yeah.
We shouldn't be wishing illness on any or making fun of somebody because they're sick. Like, it could be very serious, and it does seem like it's a lot more serious than your basic illness. So, just wishing illness and injury on somebody else is just absolutely absurd.
Yeah. Also, before we came on here, like I saw, because we know the whole thing about Tatum is he's an unoriginal guy with his celebrations and stuff. Somebody literally took the time to show him in the wheelchair, put a side by side with him and Paul Pierce, and they were like, "Look, he's even unoriginal with that." And I was just like, "This is where we are in 2025. That we're making light of Tatum's injury." I also saw another video with Tatum down, and they were like, "Oh, it's only because they're losing in this series that now he's faking an injury." And I'm just like, when is this Tatum stuff going to stop? I just don't get it with him. And yes, obviously I'm a Celtics fan, so, I'm supposed to think that way. But it's just like he doesn't do anything that I feel like to warrant all this hate. There's plenty of players around the league that if you want to hate on, have at it. I just don't get it why it's like popular to do with Tatum.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely stupid. Because it's funny. You hate on Tatum probably because y'all don't have him. Like, your team doesn't have him, so you hate on him. Oh, he can't be the face of the league because he's corny. Okay, and you're trying to coronate Ant as the face of the league, which, by the way, I don't got no beef with Ant.
Mhm.
But this face of the league convo with him is annoying because I'm watching him game after game this playoff run get carried by Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I bet when he shoots, 6 of 24 in his best, Kobe Game 7 tribute to, close out the Warriors, it'll be, is Ant the face of the league? Yet when, Tatum's 50 bombing Miami and actually leading a finals run, crickets. He can't be the face of the league. He's too cheesy. But yet, this cheesy dude is more successful than your team's favorite player, most likely. There's a handful of guys that are obviously more successful than Jason Tatum, but there's not many. You can count them, you can count them on a hand how many players right now in the league are more successful than Jason Tatum. So I think it's that Tatum hate is absolutely, cheesy. It's terrible. And you know what's funny is this is the guy, in all reality, who's probably the closest to the face of the league. Like, what do you want? You want to eat somebody who's young. Tatum's 27.
Mm-hmm.
All NBA. This man's all NBA first team for what? The past couple of years now. You want a champion? He was the best player on a championship team, something that, we don't know if Ant will ever be. This series ain't, this series ain't it. They'll probably beat the Warriors, but they still have to get through Denver. They still have to get through the Thunder. I hate the narrative around Tatum because when they need him, he steps up. Like, I watched it firsthand, 2022, Game 6. Giannis drops 44, 22, and 6. Should have completely ended the Celtics, except Tatum went for 46. They needed somebody to step up against the 76ers. Tatum goes for 50 before he tore his Achilles. Brunson's going nuts. Who matched him? Tatum. Tatum's the best player on a finals winning team. And it makes people sick because he's corny. I'm sorry. Should I throw up DX crotch chops while shooting 2 of 22? Call me Anthony Edwards? Like, once again, I have no beef with Ant.
Yeah.
But the fact that this narrative gets pushed kind of makes me sick to my stomach. Because it's in part of, one, it feels completely undeserving. In order to be the face of the league, you got to be one of the best players in the league. And quite frankly, Tatum has more an argument to be the best player in the league than Ant does. So I don't get this narrative. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. And, I hope Tatum recovers well.
Right. Yeah.
For anybody making fun of his injury, I hope your pillow's warm tonight. Like, go fuck yourself. This time I'm not censoring it.
I mean, well said. I probably would have said the same thing. So now looking at, I guess, the players that are, I guess, still in the playoffs. Is Ant, I guess, the one who needs a finals appearance the most? I guess for their brand and their standing, I guess.
Yeah, like the way the media's pushing him, absolutely. Right? You could say Shea, but nobody's trying to push Shea in this face of the league conversation because, he's international. We can't do that, which is also stupid in itself. Jokic has one. It's like, what? A second one just kind of jumps him up all-time list. Halliburton, nobody, if he wins one, it's cool. But the guy who really seems to gain the most from this is Ant, because these are, he's the guy that they want to put into this light as the face of the league. So, to me, the one who probably has, ironically, the most pressure to get this done at this point, give me Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be the number one answer would be probably Ant. And I do think Shea, because if he is going to win MVP, I think it would look good for him, especially when some people I feel like will be ready to kind of illegitimize his MVP because they'll probably say Jokic should have won it. So I think if Shea could back it up with a finals appearance the same season, that would work for him. And look, I think you have to throw Brunson in there. partly because he's in New York. If he can get New York to the finals, that'd be a bigger deal because the Knicks haven't been there in so long. I think, I guess for Knicks fans, as crazy as they sound online with their Brunson Orr, like if he makes the finals, like they may feel justified in some of them. Trust me, some Knicks fans are just out there with their Brunson stuff. Like they'll boo Brunson or I don't know, like Steph or something, be like, oh, Brunson, clearly. And it's just like, okay, clearly you guys are just whatever. But
I'll give you my order as to who I think from like most to least out of all ranking the team's best players. I think number one, I think it's funny because I think with the media narrative that they're trying to push around him, it's Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
I think number two is Shea. Like, I think because of that MVP, that puts some pressure on him to, get it done in the eyes of the casual fan.
Mm-hmm.
Number three, give me Jalen Brunson. You have the New York media, you have the New York market. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure, all eyes on him. I think at four, give me Jokic. Once again, like, would a finals win help Jokic? Yeah, but it would just elevate him in all-time conversations. It wouldn't be the end-all, be-all if he didn't win one. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the same that could be said about the top three. Like, the top three guys get a massive boost.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I could put, Jokic last and put Haliburton above him. But this Pacers team, it feels like that there is no pressure, right? Like, it feels like there's just no pressure. And that almost feels like that's part of the reason why they're successful. They're playing loose. They're playing fast. They're playing free. They're playing themselves. And I think if Haliburton, loses in the Eastern Conference Finals, doesn't hurt him. If he wins a title, okay, that would be great. That'd be terrific for Haliburton. But I also feel like he's the guy like under the least amount of pressure because nobody expected him to be here.
Yeah. And I mean, like Haliburton is a guy who gets clowned a good amount as well. I mean, some of it is justified. Mainly he's clowned about, kind of being a front runner in terms of trash talking. He'll do when they're up, not necessarily when they're losing. Jory does bring up a good comment here. The Cavs are up 31-19 after one. As we sit here right now, the Pacers are now up 69-64. And you kind of think for a team in Cleveland that backs are against the wall. They started out so well. The fact that the Pacers have walked them down and have taken the lead, it seems like the Pacers might actually close this out tonight. So if that happens, Jory's saying, Cleveland going home, time to have a conversation about Mitchell. Can Donovan Mitchell be the best player on a title-winning team?
It's funny because to me, there's no conversation to be had because I thought we answered this already. Like, I think he can be the best offensive player on your title-winning team. Like, a couple, rough games doesn't change the fact he's one of the best scorers in postseason history. But I thought that was already told. Like, we already said this before. Say it again. Donovan Mitchell is not the best player on a title-winning team. He can be the best offensive player, but overall player needs to play with somebody better than him. And I think it's very possible that, we could see the development, continued development of, Garland and Mobley in a couple of years, kind of bridge that gap. Maybe next year's the year they finally crack the Eastern Conference Finals. But I think as the guy, I think D-Mitch is a fantastic offensive weapon for the Cavs. But I don't think overall he can be the absolute best player on a title contending team.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've been there with him as well. Like, some of those Utah teams would have really good regular seasons and then they would flame out in the playoffs because their offense would kind of boil down to just him getting it done. And because he's a guy who has the ball in his hands so much, I think the question needs to be asked, like, does he actually make guys better playing with him? Which I guess leads to you saying, if he's ever going to win a title, he needs to be the second guy with somebody who's better than him and more of a two-way player, obviously. Like, Mitchell can be your guy, need a shot late that you go to because he can do that. He's shown that. But for him to be the guy to lead you, yeah, I think he'll just have more seasons like this. They'll do really well in the regular season. They'll face the wrong opponent where now it's they get to just solely game plan for Donovan Mitchell's team, to win 4 out of 7. They're not going to be able to win enough to make it to a finals. And I know you brought up Mobley. Mobley has taken leaps in his game. I almost feel like by the time Mobley and Garland probably reach that level, Mitchell probably wouldn't be needed in Cleveland anymore. Because I think is he pushing 30 at this point? He's
I
got
can
to
look it up real quick.
I feel like Mitchell's been around for long enough that he has to be close to 30 now.
28.
Okay.
I think Mitchell is like kind of needed because I think part of what makes that Cavs team special and kind of why they flamed out a bit when Garland went out is the ability to have one high level playmaker on the court at all times. I think Mitchell still feels a need, just a playmaking need, because there's nobody else on that team you're trusting with like secondary playmaker duties. We saw that in the first couple of games. The offense just kind of fell apart. So I'll push back a little bit. I think the Cavs will still, even in a couple of years, unless they trade for another playmaker, they'll still have a need for Donovan Mitchell. I think the real question is, will Donovan Mitchell give it a couple of years, or will he be the next star to go, yeah, I want out?
Yeah, I mean, today's NBA, that's got to be a question. I mean, the Pacers are like extending the lead now, so that's not looking good. The Pacers are having a 21-9 third quarter right now. So Cleveland probably gave it the old college try, lost the lead, and they may be ready to make vacation plans. So I guess looking at Mitchell, do you put him as a superstar, or is he just a star in this league? I do like to ask that question a lot because I do think the media puts too many people in the superstar label, and I'd like to make it kind of my purpose to kind of weed out some of the superstars in the league. So where does Mitchell fall for you?
Star.
Okay, see, I agree with that. I don't understand why he became a superstar.
I don't think there's really a superstar shooting guard in the NBA right now. I think the closest that you have is Anthony Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can argue that he's still just like, I feel like he's like bordering that line, like star, but he's like emerging into that superstar territory. Mm-hmm. But no, I think the idea that all these different players are superstars is wild. I think there's only like a handful of superstars in the league. Like, to me, your superstars are just your absolute best of the best. I'm talking superstar, Jokic, Giannis, Luka. Obviously, LeBron is always cemented as a superstar. Like, mm-hmm. When it comes, like, to me, those are your superstars. And I think not everybody's a superstar, and that's okay. People need to understand that there's only a limited amount of superstars in the league.
Yeah. Because, it seems like the media does it where you're either like superstar or you're just a guy or you're just a bum. And it's like, we can have some categories in between. Like, you can go superstar to star to role player, to fringe rotation guy, and then bum. Like, you can kind of sort people out a little bit more than just they're just really good, kind of forgettable, or who cares? Like, that's kind of how the media treats them. But
yeah, like, and that's kind of how I've always sorted them out. Like, I have rotation player, fringe all-star, fringe all NBA. Like, I make sure to have those fringe categories because mm-hmm. some guys just don't fit in a category. Like, some guys, we've seen it. Like, I think Derek White is too good to be a role player, but I don't think he's an all-star.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, he fits in that sub all-star category where some nights he'll play like an all-star, but I don't think he's a consistent all-star.
As Jordan put, Al Horford role player, Kyle Kuzma bum.
Yeah, to me, I don't even label like under like rotation players. Like, obviously I'll have like think about, okay, intriguing prospects, but to me, if you're not a rotation player or like intriguing prospect, I just don't care.
I was just looking at the Cleveland numbers here because Jory put non-Mitchell minutes have been detrimental. I mean, Mitchell's got 16 points of 3 of 15 shooting. He's 0 for 7 from 3, but good thing he's 10 of 12 from the free throw line. Mobley's playing well. Strus is the guy. Look, these teams need to stop picking up these Miami Heat players and like immediately putting them into starting lineups. Max Strus will give you – Max Strus is just like Duncan Robinson. He's just like Tyler Hero. They'll give you a really good game, but for a lot of their playoff run, they're just out there. And Strus is supposed to give this team like a legit three-point shooter and all this kind of stuff. He's scoreless. A game you have to have and you're scoreless. Like, that's crazy. Jarrett Allen, I just think this hasn't necessarily been the best series for Jarrett Allen. Like, he's having to deal with Miles Turner and, Obi Toppin, guys who kind of live on the perimeter. Allen would love to be kind of around the paint, as Jory put, get Gabe Vincent off my team. Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing is Gabe Vincent is preceded by Kendrick Nunn, which is still one of the most fascinating ones for me, that he used his Heat time into a deal with the Lakers, and we basically never saw him suit up for the Lakers. If Strus jacks up another poor decision number 3, I'll lose it. That's who Strus is. Like, I don't know. But I guess for Indy, Halliburton's got 24. Siakam has 17. Siakam's almost going to make me stop hating him. Like, I still do, but, he does put up numbers. Nesmith, there's a guy I actually like watching Nesmith because he failed so miserably in Boston. I love the fact that he's gone to Indiana and has carved out a career for himself. Like, the Celtics drafted him to be like this knockdown three-point shooter. He's legitimately turned into like a really good defensive player who can knock down the occasional three. It's kind of crazy, but I give him credit. He's worked on it.
Acer superpowers, all their role they have playoff risers, but it's never anybody you'd expect, right? Mm-hmm. Like who leads? Like, who's the most highest percentage 3-point shooter in playoff history? Oh yeah, that's right. It's Andrew Nembhard.
Yeah.
Like, Nembhard's literally just jacks up his 3-point percentage consistently. So it's not it's just a sample. Like, he's literally just a big game merchant at this point. Like, this man does not care until we get to the playoffs. Nesmith, he's a great driver. He just kind of bowls people out of the way, dips the shoulder a little bit. Like, They have guys who they put together this great group of guys that just are not scared of the moment, regardless of who they're up against.
Yeah, they all kind of have like a bit of reckless to them, which I think helps them in not really caring about the moment. I agree with you. Like, they're getting production out of Thomas Bryant of people. Like, Thomas Bryant's knocking down corner threes. I'm just like, look, at that point, you kind of have to put your hands in the air and just go like, yeah, this clearly is not for us. What's going on, Mo? Strus is the Cavs enforcer.
the best player for Indiana right now is Max Strus.
Oh man, that's crazy. But yeah, they're now through 3 quarters, and the Pacers have an 85-76 lead. So that series might be done tonight. It's kind of crazy, but I think we touched on all the playoff series. Yeah, we touched on, I guess, who could benefit from a title run. Which I guess when you were talking about, Ant kind of as a star budding on a superstar level, that might be what keeps him from reaching superstar level. Like, if he makes the finals, has a great finals, I think some people would probably be ready to bump him up to a superstar. But I don't know. I kind of agree with you. I would stick him in star because I feel like the media needs to be more selective. You can't have half the league be a superstar. Like, that's kind of crazy. But I don't know. Playoffs have been wild times 10. these playoffs will be remembered in like 10 years for how crazy it was. I'm here for it. Even if that means that my team is going to flame out in the second round, I just kind of like the unpredictability. And then you throw in the draft lottery with this season. Like this season, someone needs to write a book on it. Brunson might get there before Ant. That's fair.
Brunson has an easier path. Like Indiana's no pushover, but Indiana's still like a tier below like OKC if they run into them. And if Denver dispatches OKC, like you're gonna get a confident Denver Nuggets. Like, ooh, that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Pacers Knicks would be intriguing because it's like two styles. The Knicks like obviously the physicality, kind of slowing the game down with a little bit of transition ball kind of thrown in there. While the Pacers, if the Pacers could, they would run for 48 minutes, jack up like 150 shots, and dare you to keep up with them. I think that's, and look, you got Turner and Cat, who are pretty similar in the way that they play. So it'd be kind of interesting to see those two going against each other. I don't know. Yeah, that I could be buying into that series. I don't know. We'll see. I hope Brunson doesn't get there ever.
Listen, the Knicks' biggest fan, Stephen A. Smith, needs it for the city.
That's the thing that keeps me from really wanting to root for the Knicks. One, because I am from Boston, can't root for New York anyway. But you imagine how insufferable Stephen A. will be every morning on First Take if the Knicks are in the finals. I can't handle that right now. I can't.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because Knicks, if they make it to the finals, I probably have to apologize about, for all my Mikal Bridges trade slander. So part of me wants the Pacers to win, so I'm gonna have to apologize for saying the Mikal Bridges trade was terrible. But if you make the finals with it, like, hey, it worked out for you. So, like, there's like 5 games separating me having to eat my own words. So at this point, I'm almost like, come on, Indiana, I believe in you.
Right? Yeah. I mean, look, the potential's there for some interesting storylines. I mean, Mo just put if you had Knicks versus Wolves, you would literally get Cat Randall the year of the trade. Like it's crazy. You could get, I don't know, Thunder Knicks. You'd have Hartenstein, who was dealt from left the Knicks and went to the Thunder. You'd have that. Like
Knicks Wolves would just be objectively hilarious because I'm just imagining Brunson and Halliburton having to run efficient offense or trying to, and then we're just gonna have like I said, he's having a fantastic series, but watching Julius Randle and Mikal Bridges have like a mid-range battle, like who can knock down the most contested mid-rangers in the series would be terrific.
Yeah, I mean that would probably be the thing for me. Knicks Wolves would be I'd have to probably eat my words on Randle and Bridges, like you said, because I was one of those who clowned them for the Bridges move as well. Like, I don't know what I would do with those two men in the finals.
I want the. I'll say listen. I'm hoping that I said that Julius Randle. It's funny because with Julius Randle, I thought that he'd could be a really good player on a really bad team. I was unsure of his impact to winning basketball, especially with how he dropped in the playoffs. I'll give him his flowers right now. He's completely proved me wrong, and I hope he makes it to the finals. Listen, as much as I talk about Ant, I still want the Wolves to win the finals, ironically, because that would do wonders for my Rudy Gobert agenda.
Yeah. Oh, although Alex Rodriguez does own the Wolves now. I can't root for Alex Rodriguez either. So Wolves have that going against them.
Wait a minute, but counterpoint, we need Mike Conley to get a ring before he retires.
I do like Mike Conley. I could root for Mike Conley. There we go. This is a good point here. You get Brunson and SGA in the finals. Who gets to the line more? I think SGA does, but there's gonna be crazy free throw numbers in that series.
I just want to be right about OKC. No, that's fair.
I respect it.
That sounds like me with the Knicks. Like, I just want to be right about, Bridges and catch rate. So,
Yeah, the Boston in me just loves New York misery, so that's what I root for. But yeah, I don't know. But that's kind of all I had. Like I said, we're gonna do a shortened show. I had some technical difficulties on my end, so we started a little bit later. I know you got your show to get ready for, which I guess let them know what you got coming up here shortly.
Yeah. Coming up, we have the Meaty Boys podcast. Pacers it's a 4-point game now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have the Meaty Boys podcast. We're gonna start off with a tribute to a pioneer of hardcore wrestling who unfortunately passed away in Sabu. Then we're gonna talk, some Backlash, Saturday night's main event. It's gonna be a good time. Definitely, if you're a fan of professional wrestling, definitely join us. Check us out.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was watching like ECW. I remember Sabu. He was the dude who would just throw chairs at people.
Oh yeah.
I respect that. Yeah, so you guys got to tune in for that. If you are wanting your wrestling fix, check out Mo and Guardy 3 right after us. I will be back on here Friday with Jory, who you've seen in the comments, for Passion and Precision. We will have a lot to talk about on Friday. Should have no technical difficulties on my end, so we should start on time and have a full show over there. I have a feeling final burn this week on the show might be a little entertaining. There's a couple of people I could hurl a chair at. So there you go. That's your tease for final burn right there.
I am popping on the show, and I'm just gonna ask Jory how she feels about Shedeur Sanders, and then watching the chaos unfold. Kidding! Don't throw a chair at me.
Right? Yeah. I think we've kind of put like a hold on Shedeur talk until the actual season starts. We are trying hard not to talk about him.
Hey, fair enough.
Yeah. But who knows? He may do something between now and Friday that we'll have to talk about. We'll see. But yeah, so make sure that you do give us a like, share it out, really help out, and make sure you stick around for Mo and Brett, Meaty Boys, coming up right after. You got tomorrow morning, Coffee and Sports. Make sure you check that out. See, there you go. I refuse. Yeah. Got Coffee and Sports to start you off in the morning tomorrow. Just make sure you check out everything we got here over on Wire to Wire. So for myself and Brett, appreciate all of you. We're out of here. I guess see you back in a little bit for Meaty Boys. All right.
Absolutely.
Good night.